right, Steph, Jen, over to you.
Well, America's Morning Headquarters has you covered all morning long. Jen Carfagno is here with a look at what's coming up at 9 a.m.
Steph, you will love this, what we have today.
What do you have?
You know how much you love things space on our show. You do too.
Yes,
We're going to blast off into the International Space Station again. Earlier this year, I got to talk with 3 astronauts on board the International Space Station. And today, we're going to hear how they are getting some help from students back here on Earth.
Yeah, but they have those 2 astronauts that are stuck up there and might be until the beginning of next year.
Interesting. I talked to them before they got there. And I was going to ask them, like, hey, you ready for your new house guest? I wasn't even thinking, like, they were going to be there for a while.
Yeah. I wonder if they're loving that or not, right? Getting all that extra time for free.
I think they find it there. I like it. Well done by all. Thanks for getting your day going with us as we help you plan for all the big events in your neighborhood.
The Weather Channel has you covered from coast to coast. And while Debbie has finally moved out, the Atlantic Basin is not quieting down, Jen. We have our next system to watch, potential tropical cyclone number 5.
Yes, this is expected to become a tropical depression, tropical storm, and that's why it is a potential tropical cyclone. Some watches are up for the islands. You can see how close it is.
And even upgraded to a warning at this point for some of those islands. 90% chance we'll keep an eye on that. And it's not just the tropics that we have to keep an eye on today.
I mean, this is summertime.
I know you like the heat, but isn't that a bit much?
Well, it's a bit much, and it's just been a long, hot summer, and not unexpectedly, I suppose, we had some extremes. I mean, Vegas had set their all-time record back earlier this summer.
Exactly. But I mean, here in the South, we're getting a nice break from the humidity, at least for now, in Georgia. And we have the heat,
it's nice,
but the humidity has gone down.
Monday.
Still in major. Luckily, this week, everything should start to come down as long as we don't get too much extra rainfall, which, there are some thunderstorm chances. Now, it's also not just the southeast getting in on the flooding. Rounds of rain have left parts of the heartland underwater. Look at this in Oklahoma.
Reynolds and I were following this yesterday morning during our show, and the rain just kept rebuilding and rebuilding on the west side of Oklahoma City and then slowly drifting right over Norman, El Reno, Oklahoma City. And we saw flash flood warnings for a good chunk of the day.
And you know what? It was just too much rain to keep up with for the storm drains. And this is a situation where it's a true flash flood situation. It's not river flooding. It's like urban flooding.
This was actual flash flooding that happens more in a flash. That's why it's called flash flooding.
And
So let's talk about the situation that we still have, more storms to deal with today.
We do, and we could see heavy rainfall. There's a number of areas that you got to watch out for. The middle of the country is one spot, and we've been dealing with that this morning. We also have thunderstorms, though, that will develop later today and turn into another cluster of storms tonight, and we could do this kind of thing again. So at the moment, 2 clusters of storms, one to the north in Missouri, one to the south in Oklahoma, moving into Arkansas. The southern one has a lot more lightning with it.
Well, humans have been blasting off into outer space since the 1950s, but not everything that has gone up has come back down again, right? The crew of the International Space Station has had to dodge 170 million pieces of debris that could penetrate its shields. All this while they cruise at nearly 5 miles per second.
Yeah, so you've got to worry about what kind of risk is that. Earlier this year, I spoke with some of the astronauts on board the ISS about how they navigate around all that junk. And I learned about a new project that has them working with students here on Earth. I saw a really neat story about... It's cool, but at the same time, it's like, okay, there's all this stuff out there in space. And it doesn't,
It's funny. He's like, well, we have procedures to avoid hitting them. Well, I'm glad. And he also said hours in advance.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome, too, that they're able to
track
avoid
it. You can see it. So they've got monitoring and they can track it. But just the fact that it's there, and at some point, will it be too much there?
And when will we put a limit onto what we put up there?
Right. And how do you collect it? Yes. I only had limited time with the astronauts, but I have so many follow-up questions to that one. You know what else in the sky? One thing I learned talking to them is like how neat it is to see the things that we see on Earth from space.
Yeah, their perspective of the meteor showers.
The meteor showers, the northern lights. The
eclipse, when that happens.
So different.
That was pretty cool too.
So, but from Earth, you guys have a chance tonight again to see the meteor shower. This is the best one of the year. I think you have a great chance in the Northeast where you've got 0% cloud cover.
Southeast, not bad with 1% in Atlanta. Great. So I know the peak was early this morning pre-dawn, but you can still see them, 2 days afterwards.
But you got to spend some time too, from what I've learned. And I've never seen it because I've tried, but I'm giving like an hour. You got to look up for a couple hours.
Usually it's when I'm driving to work and all of a sudden it'll be out of the corner of my eye and I'll be like, oh yeah, there's a meteor shower happening.
Yeah, Kelly, keep your eyes on the road.
I do. But yeah, be careful out there. Our question of the day, by the way, the dog days of summer are kind of coming to
all the
an
big
end.
events in your neighborhood.
We're glad you're joining us because we are looking at another tropical system. The Weather Channel has you covered from coast to coast. Finally said goodbye to Debbie over the weekend. It took forever to get Debbie out of here. But now we've got potential tropical cyclone 5 threatening the Caribbean islands, and we'll see where it goes from there. But it looks like it may hopefully stay off the east coast of the United States.
It is a potential cyclone now, and that's because watches and warnings needed to be issued. So they had to call it that here, but it's likely to become Ernesto, and it is forecast to become a hurricane.
Yeah, and possibly major. We'll see, kind of on the brink of that. And it's not just the tropics that we have to keep an eye on in today's day.
You'll see why she said that. Thanks for getting your day going with us as we help you plan for the big events in your neighborhood.
The Weather Channel has you covered from coast to coast, and while Debbie has finally moved out, went off the northeast coast over the weekend, we have the next thing that we're watching in the tropics. This is potential tropical cyclone number 5, starting to move a little bit faster. Well, actually, the winds have picked up to 35 miles an hour, but moving very quickly toward the Leeward Islands.
So we're watching this with watches and warnings already posted here for the islands. Be ready for your vacations to be interrupted over the next 2 days. It's moving very quick, which is good. And actually that will help prevent rapid development, right? When things move quickly, you don't see real quick development, but it is predicted to be a hurricane. So we need to be ready for that.
We could see a few inches of rain that could lead to flooding in places like Puerto Rico. And then after that, could it be flooding with major hurricane status by the time we move it toward the end of the week towards Bermuda?
Yeah, we got to talk about how it will interact with the warm Atlantic waters, what will be the potential impact to the U.S. It's all coming up in our tropical update.
And it's not just the tropics that we have our eye on.
The flooding. Well, parts of Oklahoma, rounds of rain over the weekend. Man, look what it did here to these roads.
It was thunder. It was lightning for hours at a time. I mean, these rainfall rates were excessive. We saw 6.59 inches of rain as this event was unfolding. Flash flood warnings were in effect. I was worried there might be an emergency at one point because we were starting to hear about roads being underwater and things like that, but there weren't a lot of rescues, thank goodness. So I think people heeded the warnings and stayed away.
Yeah, but boy, I mean, just the big rainfall rates will drive something like this. And we have more showers and storms in the forecast. We have another big cluster of storms that we've been tracking this morning in Oklahoma.
And severe weather to boot. You can have flooding and severe weather kind of simultaneously.
Yeah.
So let's track it out over the next few days, Jen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's going to be, I feel like it's lather, rinse, repeat.
I know.
We can't get it out of our hair.
Yeah, at least tomorrow morning is going to be a different spot where instead of Oklahoma, it's going to be Kansas tomorrow morning. But for this morning, it's been Oklahoma again, at least not Norman, though, the eastern part of the state. We do have a flash flood warning with this thunderstorm that has been sort of back building over the last 2 hours or so. That does look like it's finally moving out of the Warren area, so we'll have to keep an eye on it, but luckily not getting worse. Rainfall here weakening, diminishing in terms of the area that's covered, but we still have some showers that are making their way towards the St. Louis area and northern suburbs, Salt Lake City and Denver and surrounding areas. 2 different spots that could see thunderstorms developing out. All right, glad you joined us today. Up next, we've got Weather Unfiltered. They've got a fun show ready for you.
Yeah, Alex and I are wearing the same color today. So
okay, you guys are on the Monday blues?
Royal Weather Channel blue today.
Or is that the Monday blues that you're feeling?
That's right. Thanks for watching us, guys. Hope you have a great day. Stay tuned for Weather Unfiltered.
See you tomorrow.